Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with 10 essential short orchestral works for beginners. Short, 10 minutes or less. That's what short is in classical music, by the way. I know in popular music, longer than 3 or 4 minutes is long because that's how long most songs are. But these are not songs. These are other things. These are overtures or little tone poems or little nuggets. They're musical nuggets, chunks, and these chunks come in various sizes, and I drew the line at about 10 minutes. And of course, as always with classical music, you should keep in mind, since everyone's playing the same thing, different performances can go at different speeds. So some of them that are pushing up against the limit can actually make maybe 11 minutes, but they all exist shorter than 10 minutes. Let's put it that way. I can't answer for the one you actually get when you listen, but by and large, you'll be fine if we draw the line at 10 minutes or so. And here they are. I just want to get right to it because we'll talk about each one individually, and this will give you a sense of it. I do want to start, though, by saying, okay, I know I say here we go, and then I digress. I'm sorry. But I want to start by just saying this. Short does not mean less interesting. We all know about symphonies, the big grandiose stuff. Sometimes it's much easier to start with littler things, to get your toes wet, or to just dip your toe in, or whatever it is the phrase goes, to give yourself, you don't have to make yourself crazy. You don't have to sit there for hours on end listening to stuff if you don't feel like it, if you're not so inclined, or if you only have limited time, or if you feel it would be easier for you to simply start with shorter works, because they're just as good. They have just as much craft, just as much tunefulness, just as much finesse, just as much formal ingenuity, just as much everything as the bigger stuff. And so there's no reason why we can't begin with the shorter stuff. And for those of you, and this is for those of you who are not beginners, those of you who know this stuff cold, who have your own ideas, don't give them to me. I'm asking you nicely now, because I see in these comments, I make these lists and everybody chimes in, and then we have the classical music pile-on, as I call it. And I understand the pile-on, because everybody wants to share their own enthusiasms, and everybody has their own suggestions, and we think that's going to be helpful. But I am telling you as a pro, it isn't. It isn't in this context. I believe personally that it's better to do less initially and then broaden out. We will always have the opportunity to do more talks on 10 essential short orchestral works because there are billions of them. And this happens to just be my list that I put together for this particular purpose. There can be hundreds of other lists, but no one needs to be overwhelmed at this stage in their listening. If we're really serious about doing music for those who are beginners, then we have to let beginners begin. And I mean this for all of you beginners out there, and all of you who are not beginners. Let's take our time. Let's take a breath and just leave it at 10. And any other suggestions that come are for another time and another place, another list, another conversation. Let's get through these. Because my experience has always been that if you give somebody, an assignment, first of all, nobody wants an assignment. People want a pleasure. People want something that's digestible and interesting and not a chore, number one. And number two, nobody wants to be overwhelmed right away. It just isn't necessary. Let's take it slow. Let's take our time. Let's savor each of these things and get to know them. And, we can always open the floodgates later. I mean, the water is backing up behind the dam. You don't have to worry. It's all out there. But it should be out there when you want it, when you're ready, not because we're inflicting it on you. And I mean that really in the best sense, as a bunch of really enthusiastic, music-loving people who are just so eager to help you, the newbies, the beginners, to just learn how to negotiate this fabulous world that we're living in, this world of just unbelievably gorgeous music. So here are 10. and there could be thousands. And now that we've said that, we're going to do 10, and we're going to leave it at 10. First, Mozart, the overture to the Marriage of Figaro. Oh, this is in commercials and it's in movies. It's only 5 and a bit minutes long. It's one of the great comic opera overtures. It sounds happy. Is it funny? Well, I mean, the music practically is. It's da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-dum, ba-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, da-da, da-dum, ba-bum, ba-da-dum, ba-bum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. I mean, you probably already know it. But how many times have you just sat down and listened? You listen to it, you go, okay, it's Mozart, it's the Marriage of Figaro. You may know it, you may not know it. You may have heard it before, you may not have heard it before. But what I'm asking you to do with these is just to sit and listen. It is beyond delightful. It is the essence of happiness in music. And that's all I need to say about it. It's just 5 minutes long. Go enjoy it. I mean, what could be easier than that? But listen. Pay attention to it. Listen to the details. Listen to the wonderful writing for the oboe, for the woodwind instruments and the flutes, for the delicious little march at the very, very end, for the wonderful tunes, the beautiful tunes that fly through it at high speed. Oh, what a masterpiece. Fabulous. Next, another overture, totally different this time. Beethoven's Egmont Overture. This is a tragedy. Egmont is tragic. It's powerful. This is the overture that was played at the funeral, the memorial service, actually, for the Israeli athletes that were murdered by the Palestinian terrorists at the Munich Olympics in, I think it was 1972. And it's an overture that represents both tragedy and the triumph of a noble ideal, of a noble cause. That's what Beethoven was trying to get at. And again, it's a work that may be familiar to you, it may not be. It's about 8 or 9 minutes long, and it's powerful. Very, very powerful, extremely beautiful. Now, this piece has a slow introduction, and then a fast middle overture, and then a creepy little interlude leading to a victory symphony. And the victory is not the victory of Egmont. He's dead, actually. It's the victory of the idea of striving and heroic, democratic ideals and all the things that Beethoven believed in. And it's really a stunning piece of music, really, really beautiful work. After Egmont, we do Glinka, the overture to Ruslan and Lyudmila. Now, Ruslan and Lyudmila, Glinka was the father of Russian opera. He wrote 2 big operas, and this overture has a long ago acquired its own life as a separate piece. It is another comic opera sort of overture. And although Ruslan and Lyudmila is not entirely a comic opera, it has its moments, but this overture is rather similar to the Marriage of Figaro, only updated a few decades to the Romantic period. It has that same rushing, unquenchable energy, fabulous tunes, and it's a virtuoso piece for the orchestral string section. It really is. It's a thrilling piece of music. And again, it's only about 5-6 minutes long. Delightful, absolutely delightful. And so, again, sit down, give it a listen. That's all you need to do. It's so easy. You're not going to believe it's so easy, but it is. All that you need to do with this music is listen to it. It's not there to trick you or to be anything that it isn't. It's just there to be enjoyed. And after Glinka, well, this is a modern piece, a fun American piece. Aaron Copland, El Salom Mexico, which is a Mexican cantina-style band evocation, supposedly based on a real place that Copland visited in Mexico when he was having a vacation with his composer friend Carlos Chavez. No one's ever been able to locate where he supposedly heard these things, but the tunes are some of them are actual sort of folk-like Mexican dance tunes. And oh my goodness, this is a fun piece of music. It's incredibly fun. It's incredibly hard to play. I've played it. It's just a bear. It's absolutely brutal rhythmically, but it's so much fun. And the tunes are wonderful. And it's like most of the music of Copland's American period and his American style. It has this, and America in the larger sense, not the United States, like you know, all of America, including Latin America. It is just fresh and open and springy and full of energy and life and vigor, and it has beautiful, softer, poetic interludes. And when it's over, you're going to spend the rest of your life going da 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 dum bum boom da 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 dum bum boom da 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 boom. You won't get it out of your head. Trust me, it gets stuck there forever. It's really, really fun. So after Copland, one of the great, all-time great numbers, Camille Saint-Saens, the French composer, his Danse macabre, the macabre dance. This is the piece of music that you saw in all of those cartoons, those Warner Brothers cartoons and the Bugs Bunny type cartoons where you had Halloween and witches and skeletons playing the xylophone on their rib cage. This was the music. It's the music that they used. You know, da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum on the xylophone. This was originally a song, believe it or not. It was a song with really stupid words. It goes like zigga zigga zag, zooby zooby zoop. It's completely horrible in its song version, I think. I mean, I've heard it. I don't like it very much. But in its orchestral version, this little 6-minute, it's a symphonic poem. It's not an overture. It's a piece of music that tells a story. And the story is the clock strikes 12 and all the little spirits go zipping about, and then a rooster crows at the end, and they all go, and the sun comes up, and the devil is playing the violin, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's just a joy. It's a waltz. It's a wonderful waltz. Do 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 do. It's just a great piece, and it caused a riot. Parisian audiences like to riot. That's what they do. And this caused hysteria when it was first performed because Saint-Saens dared to use the xylophone in the orchestra, and everybody thought that was just an appalling bad taste and terribly undignified. And of course, the fact that it caused a riot meant that it was a work of genius and everybody loved it. And so, I mean, who cared? Absolutely phenomenal. So the Danse macabre you're going to want to hear. And then we've got Smetana, another overture, this time to the Bartered Bride. Now, this is another comic opera overture coming another few decades after the Glinka. And if you listen to the Mozart and then the Glinka and now Smetana's overture to the Bartered Bride, you will hear a certain commonality between these comic overtures. They are all very quick. They're all based on rushing string passages. They all have wonderful, wonderful tunes. I mean, the Smetana, pardon me, Mendelssohn's in another talk. The Smetana Bartered Bride Overture is quite similar to the other two. In the opening, you have this sort of big da 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 dum ba-da-dum ba-da-da-da-dum ba-da-da-da-da-dum 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 like that. You've got your strings whizzing along with wonderful tunes on top. And so I put these three together deliberately because I thought that they kind of make a trilogy. And if you compare them and listen, I'm sure you'll agree. You'll hear that similarity, and it could be that they are all based in that first marvelous work by Mozart. The concept is similar, even though the tunes are different and the actual, structure of each is a little different, but the idea is the same. And similar ideas you will find in music often result in similar solutions. And so if you want a really good comic opera overture, you could do a lot worse than to have something 5 or 6 minutes long with really peppy, rushing strings and fabulous tunes on top. That simple. And after that, we're going to go, we did Mexico. We're going to do some more Spanish music, but this time Spain. Emmanuel Chabrier's Espana. Oh, Espana is amazing. It's a Spanish rhapsody, and it's just delicious. It's about 6 minutes of the most brilliant orchestral music you've ever heard in your life. Chabrier was a real pioneer in the use of the orchestra. You're going to hear everybody get solos. The harp gets a solo. The bassoons get solos. The trombones get solos. And in between those solos, you have incredibly brilliant fireworks going off with everybody, with a big orchestra with percussion cracking along, and it's just delicious. And Espana, of course, means Spain. 6 minutes about Spain. So just listen to it and think Spain. You're going to be in business. That's all it does. And after Spain, we're going to just have another party. This is a party talk. So many of these pieces, they're comic overtures, they're fun. Beethoven is serious, of course. Beethoven is not usually funny in the same sense that these other people were funny. Beethoven could be very, very funny when he wanted to be, but in the Egmont Overture, that's not exactly the place for humor. But in this case, we have Dvorak, his Carnival Overture. It's a carnival. I mean, the title says it all. This is a bigger piece, though. It's about 9 minutes long. It's a very well-developed overture, which has a beautiful poetic middle section that's quiet in between absolutely raucous outer sections with a tambourine going nuts and the brass and cymbals and people having a swell time at a carnival. Now, the Carnival Overture is the middle overture of three, a group of three that all share a theme, a common theme. That theme is ya-dum, da-dum, ya-da-da-da-da-da-dum, something like that, close to that. And the first one is called In Nature's Realm, and the last one is called Othello, as in the Shakespeare play. And so the original title for the group was Nature, Life, and Love, and it was supposed to be a triptych explaining how things develop from primitive nature and sunny, easy, the natural world beauty and innocence, through partying and the whirl of your daily life, to jealousy and death. Really rather cool, actually. And they're often still presented that way on recordings. The others are longer than 10 minutes. You can listen to them that way if you want, or you can take them separately, because some of the Carnival Overture particularly became incredibly popular separately. And so we're used to hearing them individually now, but they all work together too, because they share a theme. And that theme appears in the middle, the quiet section of the Carnival Overture. So if you want to experience the other three, you're already halfway there. It's a brilliant, brilliant work, sunny and delightful and full of great tunes. And after Carnival, well, we're going to relax to Debussy, the Prelude to the Afternoon of a Fawn. Now, the title is just marvelous. Who knows what it means? The Prelude to the Afternoon of a Fawn. I mean, what did the fawn do during the rest of the afternoon? And why did the afternoon need a prelude? And what is the prelude to the afternoon? The morning? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a beautiful little tone poem / it was danced actually as a ballet. And it's just drifting. It's the acme of what later became known as Impressionist music. It's soft, it's gentle, it's exquisite. It has fabulous flute and harp parts. It has the little ting of antique cymbals at the very end. Oh, it's delicious. And it can last more than 10 minutes, depending on how slow and languorous the performance is. I tend to prefer the ones that have a little bit more fiber and muscle. I mean, it is a fawn. It's not like, it's not droopy and dying or sort of overdosing on pot or something. It's walking around. And so it's a fawn. It's doing fawn-like things. And oh, it's so beautiful. Unbelievably beautiful and moody and atmospheric and dreamy. And I mean, it must have been some afternoon. That's all I can tell you when the afternoon finally arrived. It's glorious, absolutely glorious. And it's completely different from all of these other pieces, which I've chosen because they tend to be lively and rather muscular. And this is just the opposite of that. This is gauzy and soft and fuzzy and fluffy and all of those things. And last but not least, Sibelius's Finlandia, something patriotic and, but short also. Sibelius was a very concise composer, which is a good thing. Now, Finlandia is extremely famous because it was the ultimate theme music to the film Die Hard with a Vengeance, the second Die Hard movie. And you actually, it's quite wonderful how the Sibelius is worked into the fabric of the film, because, the big tune, dum ba da 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 dum bum 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 do 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 da 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 dum ba da da da, doesn't pop up until the very end, after the bad guys have blown up and all the other planes are finally being allowed to land, and Bruce Willis's wife finally lands, and it's all. Before that, you hear the opening, which is very menacing. Which may have given John Williams some inspiration when he came to write Jaws. It's a wonderful work. It's craggy, and it's bold, and it has heroism, and it has religious sentiment, and the beautiful sort of chorale tunes, da 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 da, ya da da dum ba da dum. But it's not too long. It's not pretentious. It's not bombastic. It's just fabulous. And it was originally written to actually describe the virtues of industrial development and the coming of the railroad to Finland for sort of like an industrial exhibition type thing, a historical celebration of Finnish history. But Sibelius knew a good thing when he wrote it, and he wasn't going to leave it just to, do the train. So he actually readjusted it and called it Finlandia. And there's versions with chorus, and versions without the chorus, and versions with different versions of the chorus, and there's like 100 versions of it. But the standard one is the one we're talking about, and it's a wonderful way to end this series of 10 really essential short works that you're just going to come across. They're very popular. They're easy to take. They're a joy to listen to, and I just think you're going to have a good time. And you can relax and enjoy them accordingly. There is no other agenda behind any of these pieces other than that you should listen and take pleasure in them. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you for joining me. Take care.